He chose an empire over family. 20 years later, he found his daughter. She was a waitress, and her life revealed the true cost of his ambition. Mr. Arthur Hayes was a titan. At 55, he helmed Hayes Enterprises, a $12 billion empire spanning tech, real estate, and finance. His name was etched in gold on skyscrapers, his face a fixture on Forbes covers. He owned a fleet of private jets, a yacht docked in Monaco, and a Manhattan penthouse that could house a small village. But behind the polished exterior, Arthur was a man unraveling. 20 years ago, Arthur had made a choice that defined him. His marriage to Sarah, his college sweetheart, was fraying. Sarah dreamed of a quiet life with their daughter, Kate. Arthur dreamed of conquering the world. When Kate was 5, Sarah demanded a divorce, citing Arthur's obsession with work. He didn't fight her. He signed the papers, sent child support, and let Sarah take Kate. He told himself it was for the best. Kate would be happier without his chaos. But the truth was uglier. Arthur had chosen ambition over family. For years, Arthur buried his guilt in deals and deadlines. Kate faded into a footnote, a name on a bank statement. He didn't call. Didn't visit. Didn't even send birthday cards. He convinced himself Sarah would give Kate everything he couldn't. But the late-night call shattered that delusion. The caller was Ellen, Sarah's sister, her voice thick with grief and venom. Sarah had died in a car accident 3 weeks ago, Ellen said. Kate, now 25, was struggling. And Jack had no clue where she was or what her life had become. You left her, Arthur. Ellen spat. You built your empire on her broken heart. Now deal with the consequences. Sleep eluded Arthur after the call. He paced his penthouse, the glittering city mocking his turmoil. For the first time in decades, he felt small, powerless. By dawn, he'd hired Frank Stone, a private investigator with a reputation for finding ghosts. I'll track her down, Frank said, lighting a cigar, but brace yourself. This ain't going to be pretty. While Frank worked, Arthur tried to focus on his empire. A $3 billion merger loomed, a deal that could redefine his legacy. But his mind was elsewhere. What did Kate look like now? Did she know his name? Did she hate him? The questions clawed at him, exposing a vulnerability he'd buried under layers of success. 6 days later, Frank called. Got her, he said, his voice grim. She's in Willow Creek, a nowhere town 3 hours out. Works at Marty's Diner. But Arthur, she's not living some charmed life. You need to see it for yourself. Frank's tone carried a warning, but he offered no details. Arthur canceled his meetings and drove to Willow Creek, his Mercedes weaving through dusty roads lined with cornfields. His stomach churned as he pulled into the diner's gravel lot. Marty's was a relic, peeling paint, a flickering neon sign, windows clouded with grime. He sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel, his heart pounding. How do you face a daughter you abandoned? What words could bridge 20 years of silence? Arthur stepped into Marty's Diner, the bell above the door jangling. The air was thick with the scent of burnt coffee and bacon grease. Truckers hunched over the counter, their laughter rough and warm. And then he saw her. Kate was behind the counter, her dark hair tied in a loose bun, her apron streaked with ketchup and coffee stains. She was thinner than he'd imagined, her face carved with exhaustion, but her eyes, Sarah's eyes, emerald green and fierce, sparked with life even through the weariness. She was refilling a customer's mug, her movements quick, practiced, like someone who'd learned to keep moving no matter the weight on her shoulders. Arthur's throat closed. This was his daughter, and she was a stranger. He slid into a booth, his hands shaking as he grabbed a laminated menu. Kate approached, notepad in hand, her gaze fixed on the paper. What can I get you? She asked, her voice flat, professional. He lowered the menu, his voice barely audible. Kate? She froze, her pen hovering. Slowly, she looked up, her eyes narrowing. Do I know you? It's me, Arthur said, his voice breaking. Your father. The diner seemed to hold its breath. Kate's face hardened, her jaw tightening. "You're mistaken," she said, turning away. "Kate, please," Arthur called, standing. Heads turned, the air thick with curiosity. "I just want to talk." She spun back, her eyes blazing. "Talk? After 20 years? You don't get to waltz in here and play dad. Get out." The words hit like a slap. The truckers stared, their forks paused mid-bite. Arthur's face burned, but he couldn't move. "I know I failed you," he said. "I know I don't deserve this, but I'm here now." Kate's laugh was sharp, bitter. "Here now? Wow, what a hero. You're about 2 decades late." She stormed into the kitchen, the swinging door slamming behind her. Arthur stood there, the bell's faint jingle mocking him as he retreated to his car. He wanted to chase her, to beg, but her anger was a wall he didn't know how to breach. Kate's world. Arthur didn't leave Willow Creek. He checked into the Willow Inn, a motel with sagging beds and flickering lights, a far cry from his usual luxury. He needed to understand Kate's life, to see the cost of his absence. Over the next few days, he observed from a distance, piecing together her reality. Kate lived in a cramped apartment above a laundromat, the walls thin enough to hear the dryer's hum. She worked double shifts at Marty's, her days stretching from 6 a.m. to midnight. Arthur learned from a talkative regular, an old man named Gus, that Kate was raising a 6-year-old son, Liam, alone. Liam's father, Derek, had vanished when Liam was a baby, leaving Kate to fend for herself. She was behind on rent, her car was a rusting relic, and she skipped meals to ensure Liam had enough. Yet she was a fierce mother. She took Liam to the park every Sunday, helped him with homework, and saved every dime for his future. Arthur was devastated. He'd pictured Kate in college, maybe starting a career, living the life his wealth could have bought. Instead, she was fighting to survive, and he hadn't even known. His billions could have changed everything: a safe home, a good school, a chance for Liam. But when he approached Kate again, offering help, she shut him down. "I don't want your money," she snapped, scrubbing tables after her shift. "I've made it this far without you, why would I need you now?" "Because I'm your father," Arthur said, his voice raw. "And I owe you." "You're not my father," Kate said, her eyes like ice. "A father shows up. You're just a stranger with guilt." Her words cut deeper than any boardroom betrayal. Arthur realized money wouldn't fix this. Kate didn't want his wealth, she wanted the father she'd lost. And he had no idea how to be that man. Arthur refused to give up. He started visiting Marty's daily, not to pressure Kate, but to be present. He ordered coffee, left generous tips, and sat quietly watching her work. At first, Kate ignored him, her anger a tangible force. But gradually, she softened. She'd refill his mug without a word, or mutter a grudging thanks for his tip. One evening as Kate struggled with a jammed lock on the diner's back door, Arthur offered to help. He grabbed tools from his car and fixed it, his hands clumsy but determined. Kate watched, arms crossed, but didn't stop him. When he finished, she nodded. "Not bad for a city guy," she said, a flicker of a smile breaking through. It was a crack in the wall, and Arthur clung to it. He found small ways to help, not with money, but with time. He picked up Liam from school when Kate's car broke down, sat with him at the park while Kate worked late. Liam was a whirlwind, bright, curious, with Kate's green eyes and a laugh that lit up the world. Arthur saw himself in Liam's questions, his fear of being left behind. And he saw Kate's strength, her unyielding love for her son. Through Liam, Arthur glimpsed Kate's resilience. She wasn't just surviving, she was building a life despite every setback. Arthur's world of private jets and penthouses felt empty by comparison. He'd chased wealth, but Kate had purpose, and it humbled him. Subplot: the merger and the past. Back in the city, Arthur's empire was faltering. The $3 billion merger was unraveling, his board questioning his focus. His COO, Isabella, a sharp-witted woman who'd climbed the ranks under Arthur, was pushing to take control. "You're distracted, Arthur," she said during a heated call. This deal could make or break us. Where are you? Arthur was in Willow Creek, helping Liam build a model rocket. He couldn't tell Isabella that. She wouldn't understand why a diner in a nowhere town mattered more than a boardroom. But the pressure was mounting, and Arthur felt torn between his past and his present. Meanwhile, Arthur uncovered more about Kate's life. Gus, the diner regular, shared stories of Sarah's struggles, how she'd worked 2 jobs, how she'd cried when Kate dropped out of college, pregnant and alone. Sarah had never spoken ill of Arthur, Gus said, but Kate had grown up feeling his absence like a shadow. Arthur's guilt deepened, but so did his resolve. One night, as Arthur helped Kate close the diner, she opened up. They sat at the counter, the neon sign casting a warm glow. Kate spoke of her childhood, moving from one apartment to another, watching Sarah work herself to the bone. When Sarah died, Kate was 20, pregnant, and terrified. She'd taken a job at Marty's, vowing to give Liam the life she'd never had. I used to wait for you, Kate said, her voice soft. Every birthday, I'd think, maybe this year he'll come. But you never did. So I stopped hoping. Arthur's eyes stung. I thought I was giving you a better life, he said. I thought my work would mean something. But I was wrong. I was a coward. Before Kate could respond, the door flew open. A man staggered in, his face red with rage. Kate, he shouted. You can't keep him from me. Kate's face drained of color. Derek, leave. You're not welcome here. Arthur stood, his instincts kicking in. Derek was Liam's father, the man who'd abandoned them. He was drunk, his eyes wild, his fists clenched. He's my son. Derek slurred. You don't get to decide. The air crackled with tension. Derek lunged at Kate, and Arthur stepped between them, shoving him back. Derek swung his fist, slamming into Arthur's jaw. Pain exploded, but Arthur held his ground, shielding Kate. The fight was chaotic, tables overturned, glasses shattered. Kate grabbed a broom and drove Derek out, screaming that she'd call the police. Derek fled, cursing into the night. Kate collapsed, trembling. Arthur sat beside her, blood trickling from his lip. You okay? He asked. Kate nodded, her voice shaky. He shows up every few years trying to cause trouble. I got a restraining order, but he doesn't care. I can't let him near Liam. Arthur's heart broke. Kate's strength, her battles, were a mirror to his failures. His wealth meant nothing here, but his presence did. And for the first time, he felt he'd done something right. The encounter with Derek shifted something in Kate. She began to trust Arthur, not as a father, but as someone trying. They talked more, sharing memories of Sarah, laughing over Liam's antics. Arthur told Kate about his regrets, the loneliness of his empire. Kate listened, her walls lowering. But then came another shock. One evening, Gus pulled Arthur aside at the diner. There's something you don't know about Marty's, he said, his voice low. Kate's been keeping it quiet, but the diner's in trouble. Marty's dying, cancer. He's selling the place, and the buyer's a developer. They're going to tear it down, build condos. Kate will lose her job, maybe her apartment too. Arthur was stunned. The diner wasn't just Kate's workplace, it was her community, her anchor. Losing it would devastate her. He wanted to help, but he knew Kate would reject his money. He needed a way to save the diner without undermining her pride. Arthur dug deeper, meeting Marty, a gruff man with a kind heart who confirmed the sale. I don't want to sell, Marty said, coughing, but I got no choice. Medical bills are killing me. Arthur saw an opportunity, not to buy the diner, but to help Marty keep it. Arthur devised a plan. He used his connections to find a nonprofit that supported small businesses, securing a grant to cover Marty's medical bills and keep the diner running. He presented it to Marty as an anonymous donation, ensuring Kate wouldn't feel indebted. Marty agreed, and the diner was saved. But the real climax came with Kate. Arthur invited her and Liam to his penthouse, wanting to show them his world, not to impress, but to be honest. Liam was awestruck, but Kate was uneasy, the luxury a reminder of their divide. Over dinner, she asked the question that had haunted her, "Why didn't you fight for me?" Arthur took a deep breath. "I was scared," he said. "Scared I'd fail you. Scared I didn't know how to be a dad. So I ran. I built this empire to prove I was worth something. But it cost me you. And I've hated myself for it every day." Kate's eyes filled with tears. "I needed you," she said. "When Mom died, when Liam was born, when I was scared I'd lose everything. I needed my dad." "I know," Arthur said, his voice breaking. "And I can't undo it. But I'm here now, Kate. I'll show up every day if you'll let me." Kate didn't speak, but she reached for his hand, her grip tentative but real. It was a bridge, fragile, but there. Over the next year, Arthur and Kate rebuilt their relationship. Arthur didn't try to fix Kate's life with money, he became a father. He helped with Liam's homework, fixed Kate's car, and joined her at the diner, washing dishes during busy shifts. He sold his yacht and donated the proceeds to Willow Creek's community center, creating a space for Liam and other kids. Kate, with Arthur's encouragement, enrolled in night classes to become a social worker, her dream to help others like her. She forgave Arthur, not because he'd earned it, but because she chose healing over pain. They argued. They stumbled. But they kept going, together. Arthur stepped back from Hayes Enterprises, passing leadership to Isabella. He moved to Willow Creek, buying a small house near Kate's apartment. He coached Liam's soccer team, became a regular at Marty's, and found joy in the ordinary: Sunday barbecues, late-night talks with Kate, Liam's laughter. One evening as they sat on Kate's balcony, Liam asleep inside, Kate turned to Arthur. "I used to think you were untouchable," she said. "But you're just a guy trying to figure it out, like me." Arthur smiled, his heart full. "I'm your guy, though. That's enough for me." Kate leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. "Thanks for staying, Dad." The word dad was a gift, one Arthur would spend his life earning. As the stars lit up Willow Creek, Arthur knew he'd traded an empire for something priceless: family. 2 years later, Arthur was unrecognizable, not in wealth, but in spirit. He was a grandfather, a father, a friend to Willow Creek. Kate graduated, her cap and gown a symbol of her strength. Liam, now 8, called Arthur Pop, a name that made Arthur's heart swell. Marty's Diner thrived, a hub of laughter and warmth. Arthur and Kate worked there together sometimes, bickering over coffee filters, laughing over spilled syrup. The developers' condos never came, the community fought back, and Arthur's quiet support made the difference. Arthur's old life, boardrooms, jets, headlines, faded into memory. His new legacy was here, in the love he'd fought for, the trust he'd earned. He and Kate weren't perfect, but they were family, bound by forgiveness and second chances. As Arthur watched Kate and Liam dance in the diner to an old jukebox tune, he realized the truth: wealth could buy a lot, but only love could build a home. And for the first time, Arthur Hayes was truly home. If this story of transformation and justice touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us that a person's true value can never be measured by the color of their skin, the clothes they wear, or the work they do, but by the difference they make in the lives of others.